Hi everyone. Welcome to the JavaScript fundamental for beginners. So hope you guys have gone through my previous video to understand all the JavaScript things, whatever I have discussed. And for JavaScript, for this, I have already created playlist. You can go through the playlist and you can start learning on JavaScript. So in today's video, I'll be discussing regarding JavaScript object. Okay. So now what are JavaScript object? So object are variables that can store both values and function. Values are stored as a key and value pair. Key and value pair means, let me just remove it. This one, key and value means first if mm, mm, it, key is if name, let's suppose key is if name and value is um, stack code. Okay, so it will be as it is a string, so we can write it like this one, and like l name mm, is equal to path. So basically this is the key and this is the value. Okay, and function are stored as key as a key function pair, which is called method. So now let's come to the real life comparison. So in a real life comparison, we can describe subject as object. Let's suppose a car or a person, or a house. Okay, so first so the thing is, like, different car have the same properties, but the property value of that particular car can differ. Okay, so but maybe type the property value means the type or the model or the color. Okay, so that can differ from car to car. And also in other scenarios, like different car have the same method, but the method can be performed at different times. Okay, so let's suppose so if I give an example, so let's suppose we have a constant variable car. Okay, and for that car we have, so when we are creating an object, so it will be all the values or all the properties, it will be written under the curly braces. Okay, so let's suppose we have a car type, which is called BMW. Okay, let's suppose model, it is the model. Let's suppose we have a M5CS. Okay, and comma. So instead, always remember, like when you are creating an object, it will be creating an object and defining the property of that particular object. So all the properties will be written under the curly braces. And when the key value pair is completed, when you are creating a key value pair, so after that key and value, after that pair, instead of semicolon, it will be just a comma. Okay, and we have a model and the color, let's say mm, LOR color, let's say um, red. Okay, so now we already create an object name which is car. Okay, and what is the property of that particular object? That it is property defining as the type, model, and the color. So each and every property has a different value. So the type is a BMW, the model is M5CS, and the color is red. Okay, so now if I print like if I want to print the mm, only the type. So what is the card type? If I want to print only the type, sorry. So we'll let document dot get element by id, and we already have a demo id already defined, and in our html is equal to like card. Okay, so this is the card. Now what is it we have defining? We are defining that whatever the object we have created for that particular um, whatever the object we have created, we are mentioning it, we are writing it into the inner html. So now the thing is like, what the car is an object, so we can't directly print object to the html. So if I want to access that property, like this one all are the property. Okay, so type is a property, model is a property, color is a property. Okay, so if I want to access the property of that particular object, then we have to mention like dot and type. Okay, so this is how we can get the property of that particular object. Now the thing is like, we are getting an error because cannot set property of null setting in HTML. So we didn't define anything. Let's suppose function, we are mentioning it a function. Um, Function uh, object um, object function object demo object. Let's suppose we have created a function name which is a demo object. Okay, we need then we need the parenthesis, then whatever the code I have written here, so all the code it will be there under that particular function. Okay, so now the error is gone. So now what I have to do is we have to call that particular function. Okay, if you want to know about the function, just go through my previous video, you will get to know how to call the function, or how there are different um, things I have explained into that particular video. And whatever the function name, so this is the function name, and this is the function. We don't need to pass parameter because there is no value or there is no parameter. So now if you click on that, so see, we can get the property of that particular object. So if I change it to the model, then if I have to access the property model, then we can see that the model, we have already the model value is m5cs, so we can get the value uh, uh, of the particular property which is m5cs. Okay, so this is how you can create an object, and this is how we can access the property of a particular object. Okay. So now the thing is like, an object literally describe an object using a conscious syntax, which is already I have shown you, like curly braces with 0 or more key value. Okay, so either it can be like uh, the the like the key value should be either 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or the key can be a like type model. Key can be a name, or key can be a integer 0, 1, 2, 3, like this, and everything it will be there under the curly braces as I have already told you. Okay, Now the thing is like how to create an object. Okay, so I have already shown you like if we can if this is an object, and every time whatever the properties and whatever the key value parameter, key value thing, it will be written under the curly braces. So now let's suppose I have a different, I'm creating an object of a person. Okay, so const person, which is a constant variable, and under the curly braces, we need to mention the key value parameter. So the first name is first name is equal to stack code. Okay, now we have to go to the comma, now comma, then last name, it should be like path. Okay, now age or type, or we can say content. What is the content? So that can be tutorial. tutorial tutorial. Okay, so the first name is goes stack code and the last name is path, and whatever the content it is, the content property is, the value of the content property is tutorial. Okay, so this is how we can create an object. So now if I want to access that particular like property of content, so what we have to do, we have a variable, constant variable, which is person, and under this variable using the dot we can access the property which is under that particular object. And now this content I have to mention here, because content is a property, I want the value of that particular content for this object. So now this is the person.content. Now if I click on try, so we'll get the value of that particular properties of the person object. Okay, so this is how we can create an object, and this is how we can access the property of that particular object. And we can define, we can create an object like this, or we can create an object with multiple lines means with a line break. So we can create an object like this, and we can create an object like this also. We can create an object like this also. Okay, so person is already defined, so suppose you can give a name to the person, and we can also define an object like this line break. Okay, now one more thing, we can create a um, we can create an empty object, and I will add the properties later. So how we can do that? Let's suppose const person. Okay, so we already have a person, so let's comment this one and comment this one also. Now we are defining a, we are creating a object which is const person is equal to, for defining an object that is fine, only the curly braces is fine to create an object. Okay, now the thing is like I want to add the property of that particular object, like object is person, I want to add the property of that particular object outside the curly braces. How we can do that? Let's do it. So we already have an object which is person. Okay, and I already told you to access the properties of that particular object, we have to mention dot, and we need to define that particular properties. Let's suppose first name. Okay, now what I'll do the first name is stack code. Okay, in the same process I will create a, like, I'll create a separate property. I'll create another property which is LAFIRST, sorry, FIRST first name, which is text code, and I'm creating a different property which is path. And again I'm creating a different another property which is content, and the content will be tutorial. Okay, so what I have done here, I've created a object. Okay, and outside the object I have defined all the value of the all the value of that all the value of that property of that particular object which is person. Okay, so now let's access that content. So if I run this, what it will do, see, this above code is commented, so still we are getting the access of that particular property, property, so which is value of object property, which is tutorial. Now if I change the content to last name, it should print path. Let's see, we can get the value of that object property last name, which is path. So this is how we can also create an object, and we can also create a property for that particular object, and we can access the value of the object, defined object property. Okay, so this is how we can create an empty object. Okay, so another thing is like, as I have in the previous video, now we have a question, like I have told you, like in the previous video while creating an object we used a new like new new this one new, then the class name object. But in this scenario we don't need to mention new object in the JavaScript, because when you are mentioning curly braces, JavaScript will get to know, okay, so this one is the object. Okay, so this is the one. Okay, so now another thing is, instead of dot property, like instead of accessing that property with a dot notation, there is another notation is there, which is bracket. Bracket means which is square bracket. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, so we have a variable, constant variable. Let's see, um we have this one only. Okay, so now what I'll do, instead of dot I will be mentioning, sorry, the square bracket, and under the square bracket we have to mention like the key name or the parameter name or the properties name. Okay, so if, because while we are accessing that curly braces, then we need to pass the we need to pass the properties as a string, then only we will get the value of that particular property. So person last name, now if I click on try it, we'll get the path. So now if I change it to the first name, then what will be the output? It will be just, it should, I should get the output as a stack code. Now if I click on try it, we'll get the output as stack code. So to access the object property, there are two ways. One is dot notation and second one is bracket notation. So for dot notation, when we are trying to access the property with the dot notation, first we have to mention the object name, then uh, we have to mention dot, then the property name. In the same way, while we are accessing the object property with a bracket notation, then we have to mention the object name first, then the square bracket, then whatever the property name, that property name should be under the double quote. Okay, so now let's come to the JavaScript object method. Okay, so JavaScript can also have a method. So object method are action that can be performed an object, and also object method are function definition stored as a property value. Okay, so if I give an example, we'll get to understand that how what is that in this one. So let's say, let's remove this one. Now we have this one. Let's suppose we have a person. Okay, and based on the function, and also we can do one thing. We will define a function under the object. Okay, so let's suppose full name, I'm defining it as a function, and uh, oh, sorry, function, and return return whatever. We have a first name and we have a last name. So let's suppose first name plus dot dot, let's remove the extra spaces, which is a garbage one. We'll create a garbage, and this one is last name. Okay, and this is not the thing. So before that, we'll unable to like process this one. So if I access that person dot full name function parentheses. Why parentheses? Because the full name is whatever the value or whatever the value I have mentioned here. So that is basically a function. So that's why it will define as a function. Okay, so you will get a string property full name is a string, and you will get a function. Okay, so that's why we have mentioned function here. Now if I click on try it, we'll get first name is not defined at script.js. So this first name and this last name is not defined, although it is already there under the object. So to access the object property under the uh, uh, um, uh, under the object, we need one thing, which is this dot. Why this dot? Because this means when you are mentioning this, it will be like mentioning this property of that particular object. The same thing, if I mention this dot last name, it will mention the last name which is already there under the person. Person object. Yeah, person object. So this is how we can access the property of an object in the under the object function. Okay, so now if I click on try it, we'll get the value stack code path. So if I change it cross verification. If I change it and if I try it, we'll get the value stack code 1 path. Okay, so this is how we can access the object property through the function which is mentioned under that particular object. Okay, so now coming to the property. So as I have told you, property is always a key value pair. So this one is a property, sorry, this is a property, this is a property, this is a property, and this one is also property. Okay, so I have already told you, like, to to access the JavaScript property, we can, like, there are few ways, which is dot notation, bracket notation. Okay, so and also we can then under the object, the property can be changed, added, or we can delete the property also. Okay, so for dot notation, I have already shown you, like, this is the dot notation. And for the like square notation or bracket notation, I have already shown you. We have, first we need to, for accessing the properties, first we need to create using the dot bracket notation. First we need to create the object, we need to mention the object name, then we have to mention the square bracket, then under the square bracket we have to mention the property name. Okay, so this is how we can get the like property, we can get the value of an object property. Okay, so in general, notation is preferred basically for the readability and simplicity. uh, bracket notation also like necessary in some cases, where, like, in the property name is stored as a variable. Okay, when the property name is stored as a variable. Okay, or property name is not a valid identifier. In that scenario, like, we can mention, like, we can mention the square bracket. Okay, so now bracket notation is how we can, there is one way I'll show you, like, how we can do the bracket notation. Okay, so I have a code. I'll give you an example. This one. Okay, so I have an object constant property, a person, and I am defining that person name is a variable. Sorry, in as yeah, I have taken this person name as a variable and this person name as a variable. So in that scenario, as I have already told you, like, when you can create, we will be using that bracket, square bracket, when the property name is stored in as a variable. So this is the property name first name, and it is stored as a variable which is n1. So in that scenario, we'll be accessing that particular property with the square bracket, and under the square bracket we have to mention the property, sorry, variable name. As it is a variable name, so that's why we didn't mention square bracket. If it is only without variable name, we can only access the first name. So in that scenario, we can directly put a first name with a which is under the like a double quote. Okay, so now let's suppose we have age like 15, and I want to change the value of age to like 10 or 20, something like that. How we can achieve? Okay, so let's suppose we have a first name, last name, and age is equal to 50, and person, let person age is equal to, let's suppose we are mentioning 20. Okay, So now if I want to change the name, which is person dot uh, person dot if first name, person dot first name, okay, and plus let's see, we can space age, then we have again another variable which is person dot age. Okay, so now what will be the output then? So if I keep an tie, so see, we can see the John is 20. Okay, so this is how we can change the properties of an object. Okay, or if I want to add an property to a particular object. Okay, so now we already have an person age, so now nationality, natio, nationality. Okay, so the nationality is let's suppose ENGLISH. Okay, so now if I want to change it to the nationality, see, we can add this one, we can add uh, like uh, we can add this personality nationality here, then we'll get the output is John is English. Okay, now delete, how to delete the property. Okay, so now I have a few options. So we'll be doing using the dot notation, and we'll be deleting the person property, object property, using the like which is called bracket notation. So let's go to the dot notation, how to use dot notation to delete the property. Okay, so delete, let's suppose I'm delete person, let's suppose age I am deleting. Okay, so I am deleting age, so it is not required, so deleting age. So now if I mention age, it should get undefined, because in the list, in the property, I am defining the age property under the object, but then I am deleting the person age. So now what will be the output? Yeah, you can see John is undefined because person age is not there. Okay, so this is how we can delete the property using the dot notation. Now how to delete that property using the person using the bracket notation? So same, we have to mention a square bracket, then age, then again square bracket. Okay, now if I delete this one, we can see John is undefined. So instead of age, if I remove the last name, okay, or first name I have defined, so first name I am deleting, so undefined is 15. So first name already deleted, so that's why it is, we are getting that value as undefined, and it is like we are getting the undefined value. Okay, so this is how you can delete the property. So now so we have already added edited, updated, and deleted the property of an object. So now let's check how to how an property exists. If a property exists in a particular object, then how we can achieve that. So we already have a first name, this one, and now the let result, sorry, let result is equal to if I rst first name, which is a property name, so not this one, first name, which is a key of the property, and property in person. Why person? Because I want to check the property key is present in that object, which is person or not. Okay, now if we want to print the result, sorry, now the result we get, that is true. Now I mentioned test, because the test property, the test key property key is not there, so it should we should get the value like output false. See, we get the output false. This is how we can check if a property is exist in an object or not. It's coming to the nested property. So nested property, how it will look like. So now suppose I am a person and I bought a house and I bought a car. So in that scenario, what will be the object of that particular person? So now I have mentioned the person. First I have a person, then I bought a car, then then I'll bought a house, then I will bought a car. If I didn't have a house, then where to park my car? So then first I am a person, then I bought a car, house, then I bought a car. So 50. Now I am defining a, a key, which is my house. Okay, my house. Okay, and this one is also should be an like array, but with a key value pair. So that's why it will be like this. So house, which is like house, city, or floor, let's say floor is, let's suppose 81. Okay, or let's not, okay, so floor is 8th floor. Okay, and let's suppose flat number, okay, which is 108 or 8 or 89. Okay, and yeah, that's it. And also after this I have a property which is car, and this is a car, which is also for this key also have a multiple properties. So for this I will get a model name, which is an key of that car. Name is, let's suppose, BMW. Then we have a model which is M5CS. Okay, so this is how we can mention like multiple like multiple object, or you can say nested object. Okay, so now there is a question, how we can access this flat number and this model. Okay, so in this scenario, what will be there? It will be like person dot, what is the my house. Okay, and then dot. So first we need an object, we have defined an object, then we are trying to access the property of that object, which is my house, and under this my house we have a multiple properties. Again we need to mention a dot and flat number. So now let's see what will be the output. Now we'll get the output 89. In the same way, I can get the car name of the my car, so which is BMW. Okay, so this is the nested object. Now coming to the method. So what is method? Object method. So method are action that can be performed on object. In the previous like in this video only, in the previous in function, I have already shown you like two I have already mentioned, like I have created an object, and under the object I have created a function. Okay, so the same example I will do. I'll show you. So now we have this object, okay, and I want to print the full name, which is this one and this. So now what is it? If I click on try it, we'll get the first name and last name, which is John Dewey. Okay, so these are all the object method. Okay, now I have already shown you what is the functionality of this here. So in an object method, this refer to the object. This means this one is referring to that particular object. Okay, so if we are mentioning this and we are mentioning the property name, then that means we are mentioning this object, this property of that particular object, which is that property belongs to. Okay, so except this, we'll get an error. What error we'll get? We'll get the first name is not defined. So if I mentioned this dot here, so now we'll get an error like last name is not defined. So in that scenario, we have mentioned first name and last name, but we didn't refer JavaScript for which object properties of first name and last name of which object. So for this, we have to mention this one. Okay, so it is getting John Dewey. So this is the property, and this is the main functionality of this. What is this refers? Okay, now let's come to the display JavaScript object. Okay, now we have an object this function. So let's remove this one. Yeah, let's remove this one. We already have a object. Now if I print this object only, this person only, what will be the output? We are getting object because this one is whatever we have defined, this one is an object. And why we are getting the output object? Because object will appear when you try to put an object, okay, into a context where string is expected. Because in our HTML, so in the HTML we have defined it, we have we are expecting a string, but instead of string we are passing object to the HTML, to the inner HTML. So that's why we are getting object. Okay, so now there is a question like how JavaScript deal with this situation. So there is some solution. Okay, simple solution. Display the object property by name. Okay, then displaying the object property in a loop. Okay, or display the object using Object.values. I have already shown you. Or display the object using JSON stringify. So this object is in a JSON format. So if I person, okay, so if I do a JSON stringify, for that one also we can get the value of that particular object. Okay, so now how to do with the name? In the previous all the videos we have like I show you how to access the property in the same way, like person dot age using the name, the 50 you are accessing. This is how we can access the property value, deal with the object. And one more thing which is there, which is like using the for loop. Now using the for loop, how we can achieve this one? So for the for loop, let's suppose text is equal to, we'll define a text is equal to blank. Okay, so whatever the value will be, it will be, I'll be storing it to the text. So by default the text should be blank. Then for loop for sorry for what there are few condition. Let x in, what is the person, okay, and text plus is equal to x, sorry not x, person bracket x. If you're, or we can do one thing, I in person I. Okay, I think this one is more understandable. Okay, so now we're getting the value, we'll be getting the value in text. Now if I click on try it, we'll get all the variable, all the values of the property. John, we have already the John first name, do is the last name, and 50 which is age. This is how we can achieve access the object or we can achieve the object using for loop. Okay, so now coming to the object value using the to string. Okay, now let's remove this one. You already have this one. Now we'll be defining constant array, okay, or we can define as a my array, and which is object object dot values, which is this one, the object, and the values, and we'll be getting the person. Okay, so now let text is equal to my array dot to string. So first what I have done, it we are the object is in a JSON format. So using the object, okay, I am getting the value of that particular object and storing it to an variable name, which is my array. So obviously when we are getting the value, you'll be getting it to the getting it as an array format. So now dot to string. So if I get this one, then what will be the output? Function to string in a native code. Y to string my array dot string person and person, which is this one, and object dot values, which is value I have already mentioned here, and to string. Okay, the parenthesis, I forget to mention the parenthesis. Now you'll get a string using comma. Okay, so this is how we can object dot value return an array of values from an object. Actually the object value, it is returning an array of a value, okay, from the object. And now I am storing that array into the my array variable, and using using toString function, what it is doing, it is converting that array to string, and whatever the output we are getting after converting, I'm storing it to the text, and we are getting the output. Okay, now the JSON stringify. So JSON stringify is like, it is simple like this. It is actually simple one, JSON stringify. Okay, so let's text and JSON. This one should be stringify, and this one is person. So now if I click and see, we can get first name John, last name Joe, and this one. So using this JSON stringify, we can get the output as string, and we can easily pass it to the HTML into the whatever the ID you have mentioned, and it is into the output. Okay, that's it for today. See you in the next video. Happy coding.